The following program is a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and are not the opinions of K-News, Alpha Media, management, or employees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elder Answers. This is the show where we get together every week and we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States today. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael McGuire. I'm an elder law attorney with the California Elder Law Center. You know, I guess since about 2008, we've been here in the Coachella Valley, helping individuals, families deal with the issues of long-term care, estate planning, avoiding probate, accessing public benefits, whether that's through the Veterans Administration or through Medi-Cal to pay for long-term care. And we've been doing this in a situation, and we've been on the radio trying to explain to everybody what your rights are, because you have very specific rights. You have very specific rights underneath these programs because they were put in place starting back in 1965 in the case of Medi-Cal, Medicaid, and back in 1951 in terms of the Veterans Program that's commonly referred to as aid and attendance. It's actually a pension program for those of you that go on the VA website. And so we've been in this business for now over 25 years, and since 2008 we've been here in the Coachella Valley. We have really been very, very proud and have been able to impact the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people and their families to access long-term care benefits and to address the issues that facing seniors occurs every day in the United States. And it becomes an issue that has become more and more prominent for the very simple reason that we live so much longer. We live as Americans, as senior Americans, we live much longer than in any time in history. And that trend began to accelerate back in 1965. It began to accelerate in 1965 based upon the passage of a program that provided health insurance, health care to people age 65 on up in the United States. That program, of course, is called Medicare. Since the advent of Medicare, people's life expectancies have shot forward in an unprecedented manner. It's never happened before in the history of the world. If you are a lady in the United States today and you are of age 80, you have a life expectancy of a little bit over 90 years of age. You have another 10 years life expectancy. That's an on average process. But those next 10 years for an 80-year-old person are going to be fraught with a lot of potential medical problems or issues. And as you age and you need to use different kinds of services, whether in your home or in assisted living or in a nursing home, God forbid, you will find that what ends up happening is this process becomes more and more expensive. It becomes more and more of a burden on you and your family. When you're talking about a couple, two people who are married to each other, who are in the process of protecting each other, and now they have reached a point in their lives in which one of them, or maybe even both of them, are facing these kinds of issues of nothing more than maybe frailty, just getting older, having to be a little bit more cautious to slowing down, or to developing some of the issues that can be just devastating to a middle-class family. Dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Lewy body disease, things like osteoporosis, broken hip, a stroke, the neurological diseases, COPD. There's a myriad of issues that happen to us during the end of our lives that are brutally expensive, that we have a difficult time accessing those services on our own. If we live apart from our nuclear family, or if we have a nuclear family. And so all these things come together, sort of like a tidal wave of issues that maybe we didn't think about when we were like 65 or 70 years old, but now that we're 80 years old, now it's becoming an imperative in our lives. And now we're grasping, where do we turn to? How do we get information? What do we do? How do we protect ourselves? For the family of these individuals, the sons, the daughters, the grandchildren who are trying to take care of their loving parents or their beautiful grandparents that they just cherish those people. But they don't know where to go. They have lives. They can't just disrupt their life. They can't drop everything and come rushing out here. Maybe they live in Orange County, or maybe they live up in the Bay Area, or maybe they're up in Oregon, or up in Washington, or back in Chicago, or down in Houston, or they're back in New York or North Carolina. Who knows? And so they are separated geographically, and it's torture for them to be able to have the ability to protect their loved one. And it's a huge burden on them if their loved one did not take the responsibility of doing a little bit of planning and preparing themselves for the day that when they may need that extra help, when they may be dependent upon some other individuals or institutions or government programs to help pay for that care, because the pay for the care becomes an imperative when you're talking about the average cost of being in a nursing home in California being $10,298 a month. That'll strip anybody's budget, and that catches everybody's attention. And that's an imperative for each and every one of us, is to address the issue. The process of just doing some planning, the process of taking some action, the process of getting out of the anxiety of sitting there worrying about this stuff and not doing anything about it, is the process of moving forward and having some clarity. You know, every day I talk to people that come in to the office, or we have Zoom meetings with they and their families, and the theme is always the same. We are so late in the process trying to help. They can't sign documents. They're incapacitated. And they had documents that were prepared 20 years ago that never contemplated long-term care. All those documents did, which was a lot, but they contemplated death, estate planning. And that's really the difference between estate planning and elder law, if you want to know the truth, is if you do have a trust, if you do have a will, or if you don't have anything, but you just sit there and wring your hands and worry about it, what's going to happen, think about this. An estate plan really did the following things for you if you have one, and it would do the things for you if you don't have one, if you would take some action and get it done. And that is that it's going to answer the questions of what happens when I die. What happens when I die? Is there somebody that needs to be protected? Is there somebody in the family that I'm worried about? If I want to make sure that my grandchildren are protected in the event that, God forbid, one of my children who has beautiful grandchildren for me, but that person has passed away, it's an accident or an illness or suddenly, whatever the circumstances are, it doesn't make any difference. I don't want those grandchildren to be abandoned. I want to be part of their lives even when I'm not here. I want to know that everything I work so hard for will pass down in a way that will protect them, that they can maybe get an education, or they might be able to get help with a down payment on a new home. And all these things are starting to mount up on us, aren't they? Because there's this constant pressure of the news and the reality of living right dead smack in the middle of a pandemic, and yet we haven't done anything. The paperwork's not done. And that's what estate planning was for. It made sure that we didn't have to go to court for the probate process. We don't want to have to go through the expense and the delay. You know, a $200,000, $300,000 house is, you're talking about $10,000, $15,000 in fees. And you're talking about a long, very long, extended process of doing that, of having to go to court, file with the court. And I got news for you. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're in a pandemic. They've shut the courts down. They don't have a way to safely have people marching in and out of these courtrooms, threatening the lives and the well-being of the people who work there. And as a result of that, if you thought the delays for doing a probate, a year, year and a half, if you had real property involved, was extenuating circumstances you did not want to subject your family to, you might want to think again. They're going to be there for a lot longer. Those courts are closed. They are closed. It's a little hard to believe that we've reached that point, but we have to do that. These are the sacrifices we as a society have to make to each other. And just because these people work for the county, and just because they work for the court system, and just because they're judges and bailiffs and they're court reporters, just because they're clerks in those offices and county offices, we can't demand that they put themselves and their lives at risk or the lives of their family. And so we have to be cautious about everybody. But that could mean that somebody in your family is going to pay a real serious price because we didn't get done on the planning side what we could have done to skip through that whole process, not even have to go to court. That's what a revocable living trust would have done for you. That's what estate planning can do for you. Avoid the expense of the probate, but it now is to avoid the extraordinary delay that you're going to be faced with. And so if you start to count up all the good reasons why you should visit these kinds of issues, it becomes pretty clear to you that you can chase away the emotional vampire of anxiety, worrying about something that's going to happen but has not happened. And you could put your energy into making sure, if you're a couple, that you've protected each other, that you have a plan, that you know what comes next, that you're not getting trapped, and you're getting this feedback that, A, no, you can't see your spouse. No, they can't be with you. And yes, you do owe us $10,298 for next month's bill. And you're sitting there going, I can't afford that. What am I going to do? I don't know what my rights are. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know where to go. I can't ask my kids to get on an airplane and fly in here from Houston or from Dallas or from Chicago or from the Bay Area. I can't ask them to do that. I don't want them to do that. I don't want them to take that burden on. If I'd only taken care of some of these basic issues, I'd be in a lot better shape right now, both in terms of the quality of my care, but also as the ability to pay for my care. To pay for my care with the benefits that I have earned as a taxpayer these many years. All these years I've been working. And now it's my turn. And this is a middle-class program, Medi-Cal, for long-term care. This is not just for the wealthy. That requires you to take some action, to get educated and to find out what you should be doing and why you should be doing it.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, elder law attorney at the California Elder Law Center. So what's the answer? What do you do? How do you approach this process? Should you take the position that I'll take care of it when the time comes? Is that a good plan for you? I'm here to tell you it's not. I'm here to tell you that it's a nightmare for your family who are trying to figure out what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to do it. And a family came down here this past week. They live up in Northern California. A dear family friend. They are the agent underneath the durable power of attorney. They are the trustee, the successor trustee to this gentleman who has been a friend of them their entire lives, even when they were children. And so they came down from Northern California, and they're now confronted with the issue that this gentleman has been in a hospital for 50 days fighting COVID and survived. But before he even went into the hospital, he was being involved in a situation when he got sick that it was clear that he was starting to suffer from dementia ahead of time. She was having the young lady who is his successor trustee was having conversations with him, and it was clear that he was confused. And some nice real estate agent down in Palm Springs, in conjunction with some even nicer escrow company up in High Desert, decided that they were going to sell his house for $70,000 to themselves. The fact that the house is pretty close to a $200,000 house seems to have escaped everybody's sense of awareness. Now, having had some documentation put together, they are trying to unwind, of course, and they did. They challenged that whole process. Those people should be reported to the police when stuff like that happens. That's where you go. You should call the district attorney's office and let them handle it. But he subsequently ended up in a situation in which he developed an infection of COVID. He's been in a hospital for 50 days. They looked around, they shipped him out to a nursing home that's about 75 miles away. And now what do we do? Well, he was a client of the California Elder Law Center, so they were somewhat relieved to find out that underneath the terms of the durable power of attorney that he executed 5 years ago, underneath the terms of the trustee's powers that he executed 5 years ago, that this family member, this family friend, who is now going to be his guardian, if you will, she is empowered to move forward and protect him. Yes, she is going to be the person who is going to be on the paperwork that's going to say that he is going to be able to get Medi-Cal to pay for the stay in the nursing home. Because he's going to have to be in that nursing home for quite a while, to tell you the truth. But he's isolated, of course. And no, there's no reason to anticipate that he'll ever be able to return home as a combination of his having developed dementia, which has been exacerbated by the fact that he developed COVID. And the two go hand in hand. Don't kid yourself. Once you have this kind of a trauma take place, like this dreadful disease, it can trigger not just dementia, but it can exacerbate it, make it much, much worse. So he's going to need care and protection for the rest of his life. Now, the normal course of action would have been we would have sit down with this individual and we'd have gone through a plan as far as what you could do to increase and enhance the quality of his care, to make his care better than anybody else in that facility by providing services to him, because he would have some funding. There would be some money after the sale of the house that he would be protected. His quality of his care could be upgraded. We're facing a crisis in this country right now called a pandemic, and that's going to limit what we can do about that. But the first thing we have to do is get him out from underneath the $10,000 a month obligation to pay for the nursing home. He's entitled to Medi-Cal, but somebody has to go through the process now of submitting the paperwork and justifying it as far as Medi-Cal is concerned. This is not an automatic process. This is a process that you have to be thoughtful about how these assets are going to be protected and shielded for the benefit of this gentleman for the rest of his life, as opposed to being dissipated by the enormous cost of being in a nursing home and private paying for those services. Now, Medi-Cal will step in and pay, but we have to have a strategy. We have to have the authority to take care of it. Now, in his case, he was a client of the California Elder Law Center, and as a direct result of that, she has got a pathway to do exactly what is necessary now. She can legally exert her authority to protect him and his assets and his income for the purposes of getting quality of care. She can do that. If, on the other hand, he had not done that, if he had not put this stuff in place, if he had not created some kind of a plan that would empower other people to help him then he would be lost. There is nothing she could have done. She would be in a situation of just simply paying the money until everything he worked his entire life for was gone, and he would still be facing the same problem of poor care in a nursing home. Another case that came to our attention last week, it's another classic example. The gentleman's 90 years old, Korean War vet, aviator, combat, not just in Korea, but also in Vietnam. He was attempting to access a benefit that accrues to veterans with regards to their property tax. If you have a 100% disability rating, you're entitled to a break on your property taxes. Now, his wife, unfortunately, suffers from dementia. Now, he had come in and they had created an estate plan that not only contemplated a situation in which one of them or both of them had passed away, but his critical concern at that time was, of course, what happens to me what happens to her if I pass away first? He wanted to make sure she was protected, and we did that. Wherever her care takes place, we did that. The family was involved. There's 2 daughters. They were both involved. They both understand what their responsibilities are. They understand what their authority is. Now, this gentleman, as a veteran, he's an officer, is an aviator, had reached out to Riverside County with regards to getting the advantage of having his property taxes reduced because of his military service and because of the fact that he has a 100% disability rating as a direct result of his military service to this country. And when he did that, all he got was a bunch of bureaucratic pushback. We need copies of this, we need copies of that, we got to do this, we got to do that. It totally confused him, absolutely upset him, got him into a situation in which he was really a cross between terrified and angry. He felt abandoned. He was really concerned about this. Maybe he was out of perspective as far as what the value of all this was, but no, I don't think so, and it doesn't matter. He earned this right. And so his daughter called up, and I talked to him, and we got the things done, and we're going to put some paperwork together, and we'll send it in the county assessor. The first thing that comes to your mind is, couldn't you have done this yourself over at the county? Really? Really? Couldn't you have helped the guy? Couldn't you have explained it to him? I mean, it'll never cease to amaze me how little effort sometimes individuals working for government entities put into the fact of acknowledging and servicing the needs of their constituents, the citizens of this county. This is not the first time this issue has come up, and we do the paperwork and we send it in. But the moral of this story is this: he had a place to go and call and say, hey, this is what they're saying, and he was all upset. When we were done on the phone call, he wasn't upset. We'll get it straightened out. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And that's because he's a member of a community called the Clients of the California Elder Law Center. This stuff can get very technical. This stuff can be very overwhelming. You're not going to get any help from the individuals who are really charged with the duty to help you. You know, it's a very interesting process that there is in a series of manuals that control, for instance, Medi-Cal, long-term care, through either the Department of Health Care Services or through the Department of Social Services here in California, about that state unequivocally that the county employee, whether it's a fair hearing county officer, hearing officer, or whether it's an eligibility worker, it is their duty to assist you. They are supposed to be an advocate for you. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't work that way. And so you do need somebody in your corner. You do need somebody that can help you. And you do need somebody that your kids can call and have a connection to. I had another couple. They're healthy. They're fine. They had a great career. They socked away a nice chunk of money for themselves. They have a lovely lifestyle out here. Their son came in from back in the LA area, And they wanted to bring him in and go through a process so that he would have an understanding of what it is they had done to protect themselves and each other and the family, and that where is he empowered to do what he needs to do, and what should he do? Where should he call? What should happen in the unfortunate event, but in many cases the inevitable event of needing help dealing with long-term care, or when they pass away, or if they need to protect one of the other kids, or maybe the grandchildren. And so that's what we do. You join a community with the California Elder Law Center, and if you do have these questions, you're going to get an answer. No, and you're not going to get a bill. We don't charge for that. And the key is that you need an open door to information. And it starts with you being the person who has the responsibility on your side of the equation to get the documentation and the empowerment and the authorities put into place so that everybody can help you. This is the rock we push up the hill every day. If you take care of this stuff ahead of time, the outcome you're going to have is going to be infinitely better. And it's going to be so much of a less of a burden on your children. And that's why you want to do something about this stuff.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law. Helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
So this is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center. You know, in all honesty, if you have a set of documents, if you did some estate planning, if you had a binder, and nobody talked to you about the issue of long-term care, nobody talked to you about the authority to protect your assets in order to access public benefits, to come up with the money to pay for a nursing home, nobody talked to you about what happens if you have a stroke, or what happens if you're here by yourself and your kids are somewhere 1,000 miles away, 100 miles away. It doesn't make any difference. They can't be here every day. If nobody talked to you about resources or information that will help you get through this process, then you can pretty safely bet there's nothing in that set of documents that addresses those issues. It's not that the attorney or the law firm that did the documentation for you did something that was inadequate. That's not the case. They were in a place where they were doing estate planning. They were answering the question for you, what happens when I die? I'm here to say to you that you want to be talking to an elder law attorney that'll help you come up with the answers of what happens if I live. Who's going to take care of me? How am I going to be taken care of? How in the world am I going to pay for all this? And there are solutions. There are options for you. But you need to talk to somebody that's a specialist that has a sensitivity to those kinds of issues. And in all honesty, for those of you who decided, what the heck, it's all the same, it doesn't make any difference, I'm not going to pay some attorney when I can get it dirt cheap on the internet, or I can go over one of these do-it-yourself places. They don't have enough in those kind of documents. And here's the tragedy of it, by the way, is that they could have hired somebody to put the good stuff in there that could have addressed these issues, but they don't even know what the issues are. They haven't even spent the time to do that. So they are the lowest common denominator of having a trust and having maybe a deed that puts it in there or something. I don't know. But people come in here to get that stuff fixed. They come in here to get this stuff replaced. And the reason for it is they have a sensitivity to how important this stuff is when the time comes. When the time comes. Sometimes it's sort of like, well, when I was a young man and I had children, I was worried about, God forbid, something happened to me. What if I'm the breadwinner and I get in a car accident or I die suddenly? These kids will be bereft. They will have holes in their shoes until they grow into adulthood. There'll be a miserable, miserly lifestyle for them. And so the prudent thing to do would be to go out and get some life insurance. But you know what I did? I didn't do it. And I'm so glad I didn't do it because I didn't die. And so I got away with it. What kind of a thought process is that? That's not what you want. What you want is like the family that brought their son in, who sat down and we spent an hour going over this together, so he knows now exactly what's in that document. He knows what he's supposed to do. Now, not everybody needs to bring somebody in. In today's world, we can do the Zoom. We do it every day. It's easy. If it's not easy for you, you let us know and we'll walk you through it. But in any event, what we need you to do is to call 760-422-0404. 760-422-0404 to arrange for a consultation. And that consultation will be predicated upon the fact that we're going to send you out an intake form. We expect you to fill it out, send it back, and then we will commit to a consultation for you so that you can get information at that stage, just to educate yourself, just to upgrade information into your head, just to give you the perspective, the landscape of what's coming and how you can end up with the very best possible outcome both for you and your spouse, so that you can come up with resources. If you don't have kids that are close by, if you don't have family who lives around the corner. So is there a way to deal with it? Yes, there are options, very reasonably priced. In some cases, your health insurance would actually pay for it. Can you believe that? Yes, it all depends upon the kind of a policy you have that's a Medicare supplement. You just have to know this stuff. You just have to know what's available to you. And when you do that, then you end up with the situation that you have a sense of peace and calm, that your concern is not going to be trying to figure it all out when you're laying flat on your back. Your concern is that you have the right information in the right hands that is going to be able to spring into action and take care of you. You have the comfort of knowing that it's already been done. You've done everything you possibly can to protect yourself and your spouse, to keep yourself and your spouse from being a burden on your children or your family or your loved ones. And so that they're not running around desperately trying to figure out who to talk to or what to do. It's already been done. The planning is there. The places to go, the touch points in the society of the medical community are already in place. That's what you want. 760-422-0404. It couldn't be simpler. If you do come into the office, it's safe. We've done everything we possibly can. If you're more comfortable with the Zoom, we are prepared to do that for you as well. This is Michael McGuire at the California Elder Law Center. And you know that the prospect of being able to help families comes from two major programs. Either through the Veterans Administration has a program that applies only to vets, and only to vets who served during a period of war, not in combat, but served during a declared period of war, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, or the Gulf. And of course, Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal was a program that was designed initially with the specific purpose of addressing the issue of a catastrophic illness. For those of you that are interested, next week I'm going to go in depth in our next show to deal with some of the fine points of what you can and can't do, some of the things you do know or don't know about the Medi-Cal program of long-term care, to give you the information. You know, we used to do this with free workshops. But we can't do that anymore, can we? And so now what we're going to have to be doing is that we're going to start with the radio show. We'll give you the basic information. We'll go through that presentation. The same presentation, by the way, I'll be doing this weekend for attorneys so they can get some MCLEs, in other words, continuing education credits. I do that once a year over at the law school in Indio, beautiful law school. They've done a great job over there. So I'll be doing that presentation on the 7 things you don't know about Medi-Cal, and I'll do that again next week on the radio show for you. The same presentation I'll be giving to the attorneys. And that you'll have that information that you can count on, information that you can share with your loved ones if you like. And then we will be doing another one on the Veterans Administration program, the pension program. And so between the two, those are 2 key sources of public funding for the purposes of accessing long-term care. Now, there's lots of nuances involved, and Medi-Cal has additional things that you can do in order to access some care in your home, as does the Veterans Administration. But on the whole, I think what you need to do is to develop a mindset that says, I want to learn about this stuff, I want to know about it, I want to get prepared, or I want somebody to sit down and explain it to me. And that's why you want to participate with the radio show. You want to tell your friends about it over the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to begin launching a whole series of Zoom meetings. At first, I dreaded this idea. I agree with you. I wasn't too nuts about this whole Zoom business, but I've learned to develop some of the skills and have enjoyed having the opportunity to talk to, like I had a family that one brother was in Los Angeles, the other brother was in San Francisco, and yet another one was over in New York. And so we were able to have a conversation to deal with the fact that their mother had passed away, and now what? Now what do we do? And so we got through that, and they're going to be far more comfortable about what their rights are and what their responsibilities are. And so there's something to be said for communicating like that because it's safe. And believe me, safe is an imperative that we never take our eye off the ball for you right now. If you do come into the office for a consultation, and for many of you, that's the only way you're going to be comfortable in doing that. We're all going to be wearing a mask. There's going to be a plastic shield in between us. We have an air purifier in the room, keeping you safe as possible. We completely wiped the entire room down before. We wiped the room down afterwards. So we've done everything possible to get as safe an environment as we possibly can. Safe for you and safe for us. And somewhere along the line, we have to sign documents and we have to notarize them. And so that has to be taken care of in that same safe environment. So the point I'm trying to make to you is that you don't need to worry about being at risk. You do need to worry about getting things done, putting a little bit of effort into action. Don't rely upon something that you got cheap off of a TV ad or you got off of the internet. Don't rely on that when it comes to this stuff. It's not going to hold up for you. It's not going to address the issues that are your imperative. We used to have our workshops. We used to do them twice a month, 2 a day. We can't do that anymore. And it's going to be quite a while before we do get to do that again. And believe me, I miss it more than you. I enjoy those workshops because I had a chance to meet you personally. I had a chance to shake your hand and thank you for coming to the workshop and listening to the radio show. I had a chance to do that. And you had a chance to ask some questions and get some clarification. And you were never denied an answer to a question that you asked during the workshop, ever. And you knew exactly what you're supposed to do to move forward and get things done. And it worked good for you and it worked good for us. So now we have to change. We have to adapt. It's never easy, but it works really well when you go with the flow. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call 760-422-0404. 422-0404. You're going to stop procrastinating. You're going to address the issue that you're in a rarefied world and you're at risk, as am I, as are all of us. And we don't want to be caught with not being prepared and that we have abrogated our duty to ourselves, our family, and our spouse. We want to get this done right, and we want to get it done while we are able to get it done.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center. You know, you can reach out to us either at 760-422-0404, or you can go on the website, www.cal-elder-law.com. That's cal-elder-law.com. Now, the reason I suggest you might want to look into that is that there have been an unending series of articles that I have been reading both in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, other major newspapers around the country, and part and parcel of that conversation that that is going on with regards to coping with the pandemic is how often people have come to the hospital. They're unprepared. They have no paperwork. There's no authorization for other members of the family, if there is family, to take care of this stuff. And they don't have updated quality documentation available. They don't have an advanced health care directive. They don't have a durable power of attorney. And so they are bereft of all these kinds of documents that are critical for all these facilities to be able to, address the issue of access to you if, God forbid, you end up in that situation, or for you have your daughter or your son or somebody, a family member, comes flying into town and there's no paperwork. They can't get access. They can't do anything. The bank's not going to help them. In fact, the bank is going to do everything that it can to make it intolerably irritating to get it done. That's not because the people who work for the bank are at fault. It's because the bank doesn't trust their own employees to use their common sense like they used to. Those days are over. And they haven't trained them. And so you don't have Herb, who is the manager of Cal Fed or Glendale Fed or Home Savings, who knows you and has known you for years and years, knows your kids' names. Those days are gone. So you have to have this paperwork in place. And so if you go on our website, we have posted free, absolutely free. You can download an advanced healthcare directive. You can download a statutory durable power of attorney, a post agreement. You can download these documents free of charge. It's our way of chipping in during a crisis to help. It's a way that you can at least get something on paper, signed, witnessed, notarized. We have provided the statutory forms that are available from the different sources that would be available to you had you gone online and tried to learn about what exists in the probate code in California to satisfy this stuff, or to the California Medical Association's format for an advanced healthcare directive, or all the different forms that are necessary for you to make sure that if things go bad or they go sideways, that your loved ones are in a position to be able to help you because they got a writing, they got something in your hand that says, I authorize my daughter to do this. I authorize my son to do this. I certainly authorize my wife to do this. And so you can do that. My husband is permitted to move forward and make all these decisions for me. So go to www.cal-elder-law.com. It's a public service. It's something that we can do because we have the expertise to do it, that we have put it up on our website, and we don't want you to have to pay for this stuff. We want you to do it. We want you to do it. We want you to get it done. We want you to be protected. We can get to the other stuff later on, but this stuff you can do right away. We are in a pandemic. People are dying. A lot of people. It's not going well. It wasn't very well organized. It's quite frustrating to everybody. Me, you, my wife, my son, my neighbors, my listeners, my clients, their children. We're all frustrated about what has happened. But we're in the process of turning the corner. You know, last week we talked about some of the measures that the Riverside County was in the process of trying to implement. And as frustrating as it is, we have to acknowledge, you know, these people didn't go to Pandemic U. They didn't study pandemics somewhere. They're doing the very best they can, trying to cope with a situation that they've been sort of left to float on their own. We didn't have any national direction. We didn't have a program put in place in this country. We've made a bad situation worse by drifting along and politicizing this thing. Now we're going to start getting focused. We have to be patient. We have to be careful. We have to respect each other and the spaces between each other and the masks that we wear, not just for ourselves and our own safety, but to be sure that we're acknowledging the safety of others. This is a crazy time. This is a crazy time, and there's lots of things that are going on. We've seen things that we never dreamt would ever happen, and they've happened. But that doesn't mean that we're not resilient enough taking care of each other, that we don't understand our responsibilities to each other, because that's how we have always coped in this country when it comes to an outside threat, isn't it? So this is Michael McGuire at the California Elder Law Center. You know, a recent article listed in AARP that was discussing an issue that is sort of in the backs of all of our minds, you know, especially for seniors. You know, we've reached a point in our lives that maybe we can afford an airplane ticket. We'd like to go other places and do other things because we've got the time, we got the money, we got the desire. So what's the deal? What's going to happen if we want to get on an airplane? Is it going to be okay? Is it safe? Well, apparently they're going to create a mandate here in the United States, and the airlines are begging the federal government to implement it. Is that if you want to ride on an airplane, you're going to be wearing a mask. You are going to be wearing a mask. They have special filters they put on these planes, but you still need to be protected, and you need to have some respect for the other passengers. Otherwise, you shouldn't get on the airplane. It's as simple as that. And they won't let you on the airplane. They're going to start changing these rules. They are going to go through a process, and the airlines are trying to get this put in place. So are you going to be able to have proof of your vaccination in order to fly? Is that going to be a requirement? Well, if you can't get vaccinated because the system doesn't work, then that's not going to be effective. But what they are going to do is start creating something maybe called health passports, and that you can do a testing by mail. You can get a verification that you've been vaccinated, and you can get some documentation, because when you do it that way, you are going to add a level of protection for yourself and the other passengers. Now, other airlines have said, you know, we're not going to make this a requirement that you be vaccinated to be on an airplane, but we are going to make it a requirement, and we want the government to make it a requirement that you wear that mask if you're on an airplane. That's important for everybody. They put these HEPA filters in there, masks. It's better than nothing. You know, It's not like this is uncalled for and nobody's ever heard about this before. I mean, there's lots of countries in this world in which you have to prove you have a vaccination against yellow fever, that you have a vaccination about malaria. There's warnings are out there how that all works. You know, they're going to start issuing these documents, green passports, that kind of stuff that say, yeah, A, I've been tested, and B, I've been vaccinated. And even if I've been vaccinated and I have proof of vaccination, I'm going to still need to be able to do an instant test to prove that I'm not contagious, because you could be vaccinated and be contagious. What about cruises? Man, I guess that's a decision that you have to make on your own, but you got to ask yourself, after what has happened in the beginning of this thing with it being trapped on a ship, that there's an outbreak, is the cruise line going to be in a position to be able to make sure that that ship is safe? It's like a floating city. One of the British traveling cruise companies is going to make it a requirement that you be vaccinated. Lawyer, you know, what's happening here is everybody is doing this stuff for the first time. You know, and you don't want two tiers in society. You don't want somebody who's been vaccinated who says, I get to go to the restaurant and you don't. That's not acceptable. We can't have that. And so everybody has to pitch in. I said this last week. Go easy on the county employees, okay? They're doing the best they can. They're not doing anything deliberately to screw it up. They're trying really hard. And yes, it's stumbling, and yes, the websites crash in the first 2 minutes. I know. I went on there and tried it this past week. You can always call 211 and get information about Riverside County, what's coming up next. And if you have a neighbor, if you have a friend, if you know somebody, a relative, and they're maybe a little elderly and it's tough for them to get around, help them out. Help them out. Reach out. I'll give you a ride over to the vaccination place. I'll give you a ride to get to the doctor. I'll help you, because I'm in a stronger position than you are as of today, but tomorrow I may not be. That's how we have always, as Americans, reacted to a threat. The very first thing we do is that we look around, we triage each other and make sure that our loved ones, our family are safe, that our neighbors are safe. If there's an earthquake, you go next door and you knock on the door. Is everybody in there okay? That's the way we do things. And no, there's not going to be a fire engine the day of the earthquake is going to be able to get there, but the neighbors can get together themselves. And if you need some water, you need some food, we're going to do that. Why wouldn't we do that with this? Listen, we have lots of people in our society, in our cities, here in the Coachella Valley that are not technically savvy. They're going to need some help. And if you can help that person, if you can sit down in front of a computer for them and get them loaded up and maybe even give them a ride over to the vaccination center, then we're looking for you to do that for each other. We can get through this, but we owe it to each other to do it the very best way it can be done, and that's between each other. This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center saying thank you for listening, and I'll be talking to you again next week.
A child struggling to speak. It's often a developmental disability that can leave a child frustrated and isolated. Life-changing treatment by professional speech therapists is available at no cost to the family. It's at the Stan and Bobby Gold Right Care Childhood Language Center in Palm Desert. We need your donation. On your phone or computer, search Gold Right Care. That's Gold, R-I-T-E, Care. From the Palm Springs Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Give a child the gift of speech.